Hello everybody, this is Andrew X, and today I will be showing you how I made my most famous remix of Tate McRae, You Broke Me First. So I made this in about 40 minutes. And I think I made it 2 hours after the 2 hours after the original came out. So I made this pretty quickly. So what you do is you drag in an acapella. Or since I didn't have an acapella, I just dragged in the whole thing, which kind of fills in the gaps in my minimal producing. So this is the real song. And I converted it to MP3 online and then brought it into my FL Studio here. And then to start things out, I brought up an FL keys to see what key it was in and everything after I made sure the BPM was right. You make sure the BPM is right by going over to the sample, right-clicking on the audio and then hitting Detect Tempo. After you hit Detect Tempo, it's going to give you a certain range. I always do 75 to 50, and I think it came up with about 124 for it. So I just rounded it up to 124 and did all my remixing there. After I figured out what key it was in and everything in the FL keys, I put a marimba pattern on it like this. Next, I threw on two guitars, both of them being free VSTs. One of them is Dynamic Guitars from DSK Dynamic Guitars, and the other one is, I think it's Classic Acoustic. It says that right there. And you go to Classic Acoustic by going down here in packs. It's in every FL Studio, and you go to Instruments, you go to Guitar, and Classic Acoustic is where you get it. Now it's up for the twangy sound at the beginning. Both the guitars are playing the same thing. Now if I can just go over to here, my DSK guitar. So you do this by clicking on the note and making sure the velocity is turned all the way up. I don't know if it's this way for all guitar VSTs, but if the velocity is all the way up on any note in DSK guitars, they will sound like this. Like they're hammer-on notes, kind of giving it a country sound to it. And over here is the classic guitar, which is playing the same thing as the DSK guitar, but it just doesn't have the twang to it. Now after that, I started working on the drop. And the drop in the song I thought was kind of, I don't know, sketchy in how much they added, so I decided it was a perfect thing to remix for me. So I turned that, and I started working on a lead to go on it that I was going with an Irish sound at the time, so this is what I came up with. Okay, so it kind of sounds like elevator music. Joking with myself there. Anyway, these two octaves are playing the same thing, so write it out on one octave, and then the other octave will play the exact same thing. So if I could just, that's what's really happening. Now I got this instrument from GMS. You go over here, leads and synths, and you click on lead number 3. It's about 44 right there, lead number 3. And then I don't think you do any adjusting to it whatsoever. If you want to take out the echo of it, you can always click over here and unglue it. And then I thought that lead wasn't quite what I wanted, so I added this lead. that's my signature lead that I use in about every EDM project I make, and you find it over here by getting into Citrus, which is a stock plugin, and you click on lead in the X Obeyed patch, whatever, and you go to lead ultra. That's the sound I use. And if I can go over here to the instrument, I added a lot of these pitch bends. So you see my normal note, you click on this before you put the note down, and it's a pitch bend. That was so off key, it's going to be ringing in my ears all day. I put those two leads together, and I thought they sounded okay, so the GMS lead kind of backed up what the lead ultra had. The lead ultra took the, I don't know, the rise above it. And then basses. These were also stock plugins. I used GMS. I just opened up the stock preset, which is aggressive TI, turned the cutoff all the way up, and clicked on the distortion. And that's when you get this sound. And to thicken it up, every DJ has a sub bass. The sub bass I used was Citrus, and you go over here and you click on sub bass. So that's the bass I used, and it sounds like this. And that's what they sound like together. Okay, now it's on to drums. I use attack kick number 10, which I showed you in the last tutorial that I use about non-stop. If you weren't there for the last tutorial, I suggest you watch it, but until then, you go over here to packs again, you go to drums by mode audio, you click on kicks, and you go to attack kick number 10. Now some people ask me if I sidechained it and stuff in the comments. I just turned the volume all the way up, so it took power over the other instruments. I guess it is kind of a sidechain kind of a thing, but if you turn the volume up right where I showed you, it will just take over the other instruments. The other instruments will duck to make room for this, if that makes any sense. Now, the snare right here was a snare that I also got out of here, and it is attack snare 4. And that's just basically it. To thicken up the snare. I'm not sure where I got that sound effect. Let me see, effects for, I don't know where that is. But I probably got it somewhere on YouTube. If you find sounds on YouTube, it's probably in one of the packs and you recommended. I highly suggest you find sounds from YouTube, especially if you're getting new at producing. I mean, they're free. If you get better later, you can buy stuff. Now I use this riser effect that I found up here in an uplifter pack that I found on YouTube, of course. And then this and this. You reverse this sound right here to make this sound underneath the snares. Now, on to the next part. To make that sound with the guitars, I put a Fruity Chorus, which is a stock plugin right here, onto the DSK Dynamic guitars, and then I ducked the volume of the classic acoustic guitar so you could mostly hear this one, but the other guitar was still there to back it up. And I made automation clips for it. I know, my automation clips look like trash. Over here I did about the same thing with the marimbas again, and then the guitars back leading in. So I switched around the sound effect I used earlier, sound effect number 1. I added that one right over here and reversed it, put it on the end to make this sound. I just used the sub bass from earlier and then this lead from earlier. I must have messed up that lead when I was playing with it. I'll have to fix that later. And over here, I made a snare rise. I'm not very good at these, but I used XXX Tentacion's free kit on freedrumkits.net. Don't know if he actually did any part in it, but they got a lot of sounds from his style of music, and then I just used one of their snares. Again, it's at freedrumkits.net. I cannot stress enough that if you reverse the kick drum that you use and add it right before the kick drum, right before the drop, I think it really helps. So same risers from earlier on at the first drop. I made this drop a little bit longer with the drums and everything, and then added the sub bass in again to go with the final part. And then I repeated that part right here, over here, again, the sub bass again. And that kind of adds a nice fade out to the entire track. So that's basically all I did to this remix, besides a part that I almost forgot. The echoey in the background beat tag of me. My beat tag. Sorry, that is original and I'm not selling it, so no chance you're going to get that. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been Andrew X from the Soft Guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please tell us what you would like to see next in the comments.